who do you think won the trade deadline, or what was your favorite move, and what one team that you're kind of puzzled by what they're not completely sure what they're doing?
The team that I thought won the trade deadline was the Chicago Bulls. Chicago Bulls got to add a guy, Nikola Vucevic, who's a stud. Granted, they got blown out tonight by the Spurs. But I really like what they did because they needed a center. They had Wendell Carter as kind of their center man, and that was pretty much it. They had a guy like Daniel Gafford play backup center to them. They were lacking at the center position. They went out and got a center, and I believe they gave up 2 first-round picks and a couple of young players to get them. But they're making a playoff push, just like the Atlanta Hawks are. Those are 2 teams that are fighting for spots in the East. And I think my loser is actually the Clippers. The Clippers added Rajon Rondo and gave up Lou Williams, which really kind of had me scratch my head because Rondo, I get, is a playoff move. Like, you're adding Rondo to play backup point guard or even maybe starting point guard because they're real thin at point guard with Beverly being banged up. So that kind of made me scratch my head a little bit because, like, on the surface, I look at those 2 players and I think Lou Williams is much better than Rajon Rondo, and it was a straight-up deal. But it also made me kind of like what the Hawks did. Like, the Hawks have a point guard, and they just added some more bench pieces to score. And excuse me, the Hawks have been playing really good lately. So I think the Clippers are the losers. I think the Bulls are the winners. And yeah, those were probably my two most talked about moves, anyways.
Mm-hmm. And then Chris, what about for you? One team that you think won the deadline, and one team that kind of puzzled you.
I like what the Nuggets did. I'm an Aaron Gordon fan, but more importantly, just the fit with that team. They've got such a good passing team now. Like, Aaron Gordon ran point guard for a lot of this year. So now you've got the best passing center maybe ever. You've got a power forward that ran point guard. You've got a small forward in Michael Porter Jr., who's definitely comfortable with the ball in his hands. That's going to be a fun team to watch. Like, they now have the talent to match up with, top of the West kind of teams. So it's going to be fun to see that. Losers, who didn't the Celtics got Don't Google Me, and who else? They got Fournier, and who was the other guy they got? Or was it just them? Or was it just him?
I think it might have been just him. Or
that
was weird. I like Tice. And a lot of the thought was that's because they knew that, like, Aldridge or someone was coming there who actually went to the Nets today. But Boston, I don't think really came out that high. Like, I like Evan Fournier, but as a shooter, like, they kind of got guys that are going to have the balls in their hand. Like, I don't see exactly how, like, his strong suit really meshes with what they're doing. So I'm not in love with what Boston did, I guess, but they definitely didn't do anything that's like, oh, now you caught up to the Nets talent wise. So
right.
I think that Portland made a move to get a better player with Norman Powell, but again, local boy, I forget his name, who's Gary Trent. He's good because he's like we were talking about Cat last week. Like, he's a guy that doesn't need the ball in his hands a lot to be effective. Like, he's a catch and shoot kind of guy. Where I feel like Norman Powell needs a ball in his hands a little more, which, you've already got 2 guys that are pretty ball dominant. So I don't know how that fit really works. So I think the best fit for a high level team that'll make a difference was Denver. And I think Boston didn't really do much.
Okay. For me, I'm going to say, and I guess I'm going to go with the other big trade. I think the Miami Heat did really well at the deadline. I mean, they got Victor Oladipo, they got another star for Butler, and they did it without giving up Tyler Hero or Duncan Robinson, basically, or Precious Achua, any of their young core. They did it without giving up any of that. And so
Right.
I thought that was an absolutely genius move for them to do. And then my loser. Oh, actually, do you have something on that, Chris? Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think my winner is everybody who did not trade for Kyle Lowry. The price that was supposedly being kicked around for Kyle Lowry was unbelievable for like a 1-year guy I mean, I couldn't imagine giving up the stuff that they were saying you were going to have to give up for him. So, yeah, I think the Heat making getting Oladipo for basically pennies was a great move.
Right. And absolutely. Yeah. And you see, I see that like kind of the move you were saying, moving the needle a little bit. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
like they move the needle much more than the Celtics did or any teams like that. Like, I mean, think of the starting lineup. You have Bam Adebayo, you have Victor Oladipo, Jimmy Butler, does Duncan Robinson come off the bench, or does
He starts.
He starts Duncan Robinson and then Tyler Hero. Like
their lineup is always juggled.
Yeah, for sure. But at least you have those pieces there. I think the Miami Heat did great, and I wasn't going to pick a team. I was going to pick the real loser is Kyle Lowry because I don't see like is his value going to go up at all? Like either the Toronto Raptors are going to have to dramatically drop what they want for him, or he's just going to fledgling have the rest of his career in Toronto. And maybe that's a great thing. Maybe he likes going off in the sunset with the team where he started, and maybe he already has his championship, so maybe he's cool with just I got one. We had a great year with Kawhi, whatever. Moving on. But yeah, it felt perfect for Kyle Lowry to go to a contender and compete, maybe like the Lakers or I don't know any other or the 76ers. But yeah, he's my big loser.